are most confident people just really good at faking it?
That is a really good question. I have to tell you honestly, I don't know. I I don't know. Are all those confident people that we see just faking it, or do they really feel that? I think it's a great
Mm,
question for everybody to wonder about. I think it's interesting to note that we assume if we see a person who looks and sounds confident, we assume they must feel confident. And I would just like to say, maybe they do, maybe they don't. You know, in my experience of coaching speakers, I've been doing that for 17 years now. Everyone from new hires like just out of school to super experienced, C-level, even CEOs. Truly everyone walks in my door with fears and doubts and lack of confidence and wondering, will I make a big mistake? How will I look out there? So, in my opinion, I think we all wrestle with fears, doubts, imposter syndrome, nervousness, lack of confidence. And so, I mean, take me, for example. You said you saw my TED Talk, right? I practiced a lot for that. Thank you. And I felt like I could do it. Like I practiced enough to the point where I believed that I could do that. And at the same time, I felt so scared. I, I was really terrified, actually. To walk onto that stage was genuinely terrifying. So, in my experience, it's always sort of a combination of faking it, if you will, or using the technique to appear as if you feel confident. And I feel scared. And I feel like I can do it. And I hope it'll turn out all right. And I'm not sure if it will. It's like a combination of all of those things. The thing that I think is most important is that appearing confident is a skill that you can practice and learn.
how so?
How can people practice it and learn it?
How is it a skill?
Oh, how is it a skill? Well, it's a skill in that it can be practiced and learned, right? I think
Mm,
people mistakenly think it is like you either have it or you don't, right? Like it's something that you're born with, or you either have it or you don't, like a talent, right? Like an affinity, like somebody who's just naturally got a great musical ear, right? Somebody is probably born with that or not. I mean, actually, I don't know, but I'm just trying to think of an example. But we also know that anybody can learn to play the piano if they practice, right? So it is a skill that if you spend time and you practice it again and again and again, you can get better at it. Just like with the piano, you can practice the skill of looking and even feeling, well, setting up the conditions to feel more confident. I think both of those are things that you can practice.
I do wonder, I always tend to see the idea that to appear confident, you first need to gain true confidence. But I've been battling with this idea that can it be the other way around too? Can faking confidence actually create true confidence? Can being open, creating that confident, like performative act actually create that true confidence in yourself?
Yes. You know, I used to be, well, still am sometimes a professional actor, but that, is what I did. That was my first job basically as a kid. I was a professional actor, and I went to school. I got a master's in acting. Like that was my background. That is my background. That was my training, and I just know from doing that a lot that what is so interesting and kind of cool is that your body doesn't really know that you're pretending. It's like, oh, okay,
Mm,
cool. This is what we're doing. Like, that's why it's so important. If you're playing Medea or something, you got to have a way back out of that character because your body doesn't know that that isn't real trauma that you're experiencing, right? So actors have to have these really important rituals to sort of like walk back into reality and leave the character at the theater. But the same is true for confidence, I think. If you make the shape of confidence, literally the physical shape, the superhero stance, the shape of a smile, the chin up, the appearing to have eye contact, right? These all look confident to the outside, right? To the folks watching you, the audience. But what's interesting is that it is also communicating to you on the inside. Amy Cuddy has an amazing TED Talk that covers the science behind that. I believe it's called Body Language May Shape Who You Are, and you should totally watch that if you haven't. I watch it at least once a year. But truly, both are happening. You can appear more confident to the folks watching, and it sends signals to you that, if my arms are open, my body believes, I'm okay here. But if I close off, like, in a protective, like, we should be worried. My whole body is now going, send cortisol, send adrenaline, we might have to run, right? But if we open up, hi, smile, that's signaling to our whole selves. It's cool. It's cool. These are friends.
You talked about the physical space. Let's start with that. I think that's a very cool idea to start with.
Sure.
How should someone walk into a room?
Oh, good question. Oh, there's probably infinite ways to do it. And maybe that is the first thing I would like to tell people is there is no one right way to do any of these things. When I'm suggesting tips and techniques, it's something to try. There are some universal things that we read, culturally, and I'm from America, so I know that there can be some differences in different cultures about this, but so I'm speaking generally, and I am from an American bias, that when a person walks into a room and they have their head down and they're, crossing their arms, making themselves smaller, that we tend to imagine that person is feeling something like scared, nervous, unprepared, or wants to leave. Basically, like I'm trying to hide right now in plain sight.
Yeah, I'm trying to open up as much as I can right now.
Yeah. So I thought about this a lot when I was doing so many auditions as an actor, right? If you're auditioning for Laura in the Glass Menagerie, walk in the door like Laura. Making yourself smaller and making it like, it's so painful to lift my eyes, and if I make eye contact, I have to dart away immediately, right? Because that's who she is. And if you walk in the door more like that, the folks who are looking to hire you will go, oh wow, maybe she really is kind of a Laura, right? And then you do your thing. But if I'm auditioning for Wonder Woman and I walk in the door like Laura, right? It doesn't really work. Yeah. And we read so much about what a person, or we not read, but I guess we guess so much about what a person is feeling and thinking by the body language they use. So if you want people to think that you are confident, then walk in like Wonder Woman. And, it doesn't have to be Wonder Woman at a 10, like super extra, too much. It can be Wonder Woman at a 5, right? Chin up. Like, did you see how my posture even changed just then? I just went Wonder Woman. I'm just sort of like Montana, a little bit slouchy, tired in the morning, to Wonder Woman. Yeah? And it's just this vibe, right? Of like, I got you. I got you. It's good.
Yeah. It's this. I like this idea, and you mentioned it in your TED Talk. This idea of like a 5, not like a 10, not like a 1, but at a 5. What is the issue with going overboard or going underboard?
Well, first of all, it just might not get the desired effect, right? If you want people to think that you're confident and you go in with the superhero stance of a 1, they might not pick that up,
Yeah.
right? So it's got to be uh, loud enough, so to speak, or on the scale enough so that they can perceive it. And the issue, there isn't really an issue necessarily. I mean, I think if you go too far overboard, people might start to read, that it's cheesy or fake. And a lot of people come to me like, "Oh, you're American. You, of course you want to walk in with this cheesy big smile."
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, first of all, that is a very fair thing to say, and I understand why we have that reputation. But you always have to base it on who's your audience. If you're walking into an American audience, maybe smile a little bit more. Maybe one notch more of the superhero stance, right? But if it's a German audience, maybe you're going to go to a 4, right? Because culturally, that's more acceptable. However, if I'm an American walking into a German audience, they're going to go, "Oh, she's American. Of course she's smiling so much." So there's a lot in there. But you really need to think about who is your audience, right? What do you ideally wish for them to think? And then make some choices, and you try them out in your rehearsals and your practice. You video it, and that will tell you like, "Whoa, that's too much," or "Oh my gosh." Here's what people usually see if they video themselves and watch it back. They'll think, "It felt so big. Like it felt like I was doing a 5 superhero stance, but I can't even see it at all. I got to do it I got to think 7 to look like I'm doing a 5." So you can play with that and video it and see, what really works for what it is you are attempting to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, recording yourself is such a horrible feeling. I hate watching myself, even when I'm speaking, let alone just looking at my stance. Because there's times when even on the podcast, I think it was the one with Dr. Anne Lola Kampf where I recorded an in-person one, and I'm just staring at myself and I'm like, "Oh no, Rish, what are you doing? You're touching your hand here, you look nervous, your hand's on your face." It almost feels like for me at times, removing certain nervous signals is actually a way to make me appear more confident. What are the nervous signals we tend to actually have?
Well, first, let me tell you about videoing yourself. It is hard for all of us. I find it hard to watch myself, and I've done it more. I've been in a few movies and had to watch the edits of my TED Talk, and I still find it painful. Some people might find it just uncomfortable. Some people maybe just have a slight dislike, or maybe you don't care. But it is fairly common to feel at least uncomfortable about that. And I just want to say, a little trick around that is, well, first of all, just to think, it's giving you the opportunities to make some different choices, to get information and make a new choice. So that's one reason to do it. But when you are actually watching, and I have to do this too. Like I will be like, immediately I'm like, "Oh, my hair, oh, my voice, oh, that thing that I do, oh my God." And then I go, as soon as I hear that chatter in my head, I'm like, "Oh, right. That's normal, but that's not what we're doing right now." It's almost like I have to take off that self-conscious hat and then I put on the hat of objective audience viewer, right? Like, what if I was the audience watching this? And let me just watch. And you just film it for like 15 seconds. Doesn't have to be long, right? And just watch for, is it clear? Can I follow this? Is this a person I'd like to listen to for longer? And then and you'll see like, "Oh my, I didn't realize I was saying every other word." And all that is, it's not an opportunity or a moment to get down on yourself. I encourage you to think of it like a scientist. You're just gathering information. Oh, I said a lot of ums. Gather that information. You write that down. That is the instructions for your next practice.
Yes.
Rinse and repeat. And the more you do it, the easier it gets to use it as a tool to help yourself to improve. But now I completely blew through your other question. What are the signals?
What are the signals that we show that actually show nervousness that we can remove? Like you said, is it the ums? What do we do with our hands? Our body posture, is it closed off?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think there's a lot. You could probably help make this list, and I bet everybody could add something to this list, right? But certainly excessive movement, right? So if I can just show you for folks who are watching, right?
Oh, go on.
Like,
Yes.
it's like you right this. In my house, we call bouncing back and forth from one leg to the next. I have kids, right? So we call it the pee-pee dance at my house, which is like, clearly you've got some internal agitation, right? Either you have to go to the bathroom or you are super nervous. Something is wrong, right? On the inside.
Yeah.
Needs
And it looks like it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, right? And so how many people have you seen walk on to a stage and do this?
Yeah. I'm doing it right now, Montana. What are you doing to me?
Sorry. I don't mean to make you self-conscious. Like, we're just talking. Do whatever you want. But there's a word for this in English. What is this word? Shifty. We're shifting back and forth. And what does shifty mean? Untrustworthy, right? Or like they're about to do something nefarious. So, right? And if I just go to, I'm not doing anything but keeping my weight balanced on either foot, knowing I could move anywhere. I can still gesture, right? But suddenly now what? What do I look like? I look like I'm fine.
Yeah, you're calm.
Calm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Now we just go back to all I'm doing is shifting from. That's all it is. And what do you think I'm feeling on the inside if I do this?
Oh, you're shitting your pants. Yeah.
Exactly. Right? Now, there's the bigger version. What's the bigger version? We've all seen it. I call it the caged tiger. Right? This continuous pacing. They're talking, right? And the audience is like, oh my God, just please, please stand and deliver at least one of your points. And so, and people will tell me all the time, well, Montana, I have to move when I talk. And I think you should move when you talk. The difference is purposeful movement versus like this kind of thing, the shifty or the caged tiger. This is like, this is just happening to me. There's nothing I can do. All right. This movement is happening versus I'm giving you a point here. We're going to talk about it. And then I'm going to shift over here when I talk about the next point. Right. And that's going to live over here. And it's fine if I want to walk a little bit because I'd like to really address this point over here. Do you see how now it's tied to what I'm saying and I'm doing it purposefully, intentionally versus just like,
It's crazy that small shift gained so much credibility. Just that small, tiny shift of just standing still.
And I want to be clear, I am not instructing people to stand still. Because here's what standing still, if you give yourself that instruction, here's what that looks like.
Oh, it's creepy. It's creepy. Yeah, I don't even want to look. Yeah, it's creepy. Yeah.
I don't even like doing it for very long, right? And so it really is about choosing to stand here and deliver the first point. And then I'm choosing to move over here and share the next part with this part of the audience, right? And then I'm choosing maybe to open up to folks further back. And now I'm choosing to move over to this side. So it's about choosing to choosing a place on the stage where a piece of information can live so that the audience can take it in. Because if you notice another thing about the movement, Rishi, not only does it transmit things like nervousness or I'm not prepared or I don't want to be here, things like that, right? But it also makes it harder for the audience to hear your information. Yeah. So I'll give you an example. You ready?
Go on.
So, hi, my name is Montana von Fliss. I'm here today to talk about stuff and things. All right, let's get started. So how many of you like stuff? Okay, cool. Right? Okay, so do you see that? Here's take 2. You ready? And this you can do when you're practicing video. Have fun practicing on the video. Do like a test, right? So that was, that felt great to me because I got to just like shake out my nervousness and move all around and touch my face and do all the things. Now, here we go. Take 2. Hi, my name is Montana von Fliss. Today, I'd like to talk to you about stuff and things. All right, how many of you like stuff? Raise up your hands. You like stuff? Cool. All right, how about things? Raise up your hands real high if you like things. You like things? Yes? That looks like about 50-50. What I really want you to hear is this. Stuff and things, they're the same. And then you can jump up.
That is some philosophical argument, that is. Yeah.
But do you see, right? I moved a lot. And I think I even went off screen. But you get the idea, right? That your intro lives here so that people can hear it and take it in.
Yeah.
Then the next transition, which could be almost immediately, you move over here. Talk to them over here for a moment. Next transition, whenever you feel that is, it could be a transition in thought or just I want to ask this part of the audience. I move over here. Now, I came back to center stage for my takeaway, didn't I? And then I let go of movement right there so that you could hear it better. Because movement is information, right? If I do this the whole time, like wave my arms while I'm talking to you, it's actually harder for you to hear me. But the moment I let it go, you can simply hear my words.
That's fascinating. I saw this study by God, I just used like, and now I'm so self-conscious that every single time I say
I know, it's like, don't think of a pink elephant, right?
I know, and you think of it. I know, it's difficult.
But I have to tell you, don't be afraid to say in my presence. It is totally fine, and it's natural even to say it in conversation. And may I just say for a moment, I know this might be controversial, but I think it's okay to say a couple times in a presentation.
Ooh.
It's only when it becomes, like every other sentence or between every transition and there's an or some type of verbal filler, then it becomes distracting. It starts to take away from the message or take away from your credibility. But a few that I think seems more approachable and more conversational. And I'm
low-key a bit authentic, yeah.
There you go. There's your hot take.
Yeah. It makes me feel a lot better now about me using my
So don't worry about it. Wait.
No, I won't. I'll try my best. I'll try my best to, even though I'm in your godly, confident presence, I'm gonna try to, not be.
Your words.
I know. I'm here to boost up your ego. That's all I'm doing. We spoke about it before. I'm just here to give you that sprinkle dust. That what's it called?
That's
what's
right.
that?
We're gonna meet
pixie dust. That's the one.
Pixie dust. Yeah, we're gonna meet every morning. You're gonna give me my pep talk, and then I'm gonna have a great day. All right. I keep not letting you get to the next question, please.
No. It's just I saw this study by not Bayer, maybe it was Bayer, that Vanessa Van Edwards brought up, and it was this idea that she analyzed, I think, thousands of hours of TED Talks. I'm sure maybe yours is in there, who knows. And she said the most popular ones, I think, used gestures with their hands.
Yeah.
I think 3 times more than the least popular ones. So it feels like movement is actually really important. And I like this idea. They said purposeful movement is what makes or breaks almost the entire segment.
It does. And I think, it's funny, you're reminding me that Shakespeare even had, in his advice to the players in Hamlet, I don't know if I'll get the line right, but it's something like, marry the action to the word and the word to the action. Meaning, whether it's full body movement or just hand gestures, it should be married to or, connected to the words and the thoughts. And to tell you the truth, that's just what we do every day in dialogue. When we're hanging out and talking to each other, we do that quite naturally. You asked me a question earlier, what kind of body language, should we use? How should we walk into a room? Or the other side of that same coin is what should we not do, I guess. But
yeah.
Here's what I really like to give as a piece of advice for that. Imagine yourself walking into a room where you see a dear friend. and you walk up to them and you talk to them. Think about your body language there. What are you doing? Right? You're probably smiling. You might even be like, "Hi," and open up real
Yeah.
big. Whether you have a hug or not, it just might be like, "Oh my gosh, hi," right? And it's open body language. It's a big old smile, or you know, we might, some people call it cheesy, but like genuinely, if you saw your good friend, you would probably greet them that way with a big smile, right? And now see yourself standing there with them, talking with them. What is your body language like? Right? You're not making yourself smaller probably and putting your hands in your pockets, or trying to hide or not. You're probably having very natural eye contact, which by the way isn't like, you know, super glued
Yeah.
in. That's not good eye contact either. That'd make them feel weird, right? It's like
Yep.
you look at them for the most part, but you look away sometimes to grab a thought. You laugh, ha ha ha, that comes over here, you know, and you gesture naturally as needed,
Naturally, yes.
like as needed. You're not sitting there planning your gestures. Oh my gosh, please don't plan your gestures. Then it starts to look like politicians, right? That weird politician gesture. This one, like nobody who does this in life. Do you ever do
Yeah.
this? So just what would you do if you were standing chatting to a really good friend? There's my advice for body language. You wouldn't do a 10 superhero. You'd do a 5 superhero. Probably just naturally, not even thinking about it.
And when it comes to these purposeful gestures, obviously you don't want to fake it and force it, but how can we make sure, is it practice? How do we practice so we get these gestures naturally into our system?
Practice. Practice, practice, and then more practice. I'm sorry I don't have a better
No,
magic
I guess
pill.
I guess that is the way, right? Like just record
This is the
yourself,
way.
look it over. Yeah, it makes
This is
sense.
the way. This is the way.
And then the idea of body language is interesting. But
Yeah.
then let's say now we walk into that room, we get that conversation with the stranger.
Mm-hmm.
What does the conversational confidence look like?
In terms of like what to say.
What to say, how to say it, I think is actually very interesting as well.
It is. And, you know, again, there's probably infinite possibilities here. So I don't want people to think there's just one right way, but I could give you a tool that I think is quite useful for whether you're talking to a good friend that you know and you're really comfortable with, or a new friend, or, you know, or a stranger, right? I think it can be really great to ask a question. I know it's so simple, but ask them a question about themselves, about the place you're in, about what they've been up to, whatever you'd like, you know. And I think then you can employ active listening. And of course, if you're hearing, you can argue, I'm always listening. But what I notice is that sometimes people will just talk and talk and talk, especially when they get nervous. They just will talk a bunch to fill in the space. So asking a question, you know, puts the spotlight, or it shares the spotlight with the other person, right? And then instead of immediately going, yeah, me too, I know, I did that too. What if instead you use active listening, which is simply to acknowledge what you just heard and then maybe ask for more information. So we could practice it. We can role play it right now, Rishi.
Go on, let's do it.
So I find this to be a really fun way to do it. So roll with me here. Tell me about something recently that really annoyed you. Like, I don't know, the way that people queue up for the tube. See, I know all the
Oh,
British slang. Or
uh,
just some little thing. Like, give me your little 15-second rant about a thing that annoyed you recently.
let's think. Oh, you've put me on the spot. But let's think about this. Okay, so I was in the airport yesterday. I came back yesterday,
Yeah.
and the restaurant was packed. And I understand, but I get down and I've got 40 minutes before my boarding time, and I sit down and I've been with the menu for about 20 minutes, and someone still hasn't come, to the point where I'm asking for like waiters to come. They still have not come. Finally, a waiter comes, and I go, look, mate, I've got 20 minutes. Do you think we can get it? He goes, nah, your food's not coming. And I have to leave the restaurant, pissed. 20 minutes down the line, I was fuming.
So why didn't you just look up the menu online?
Oh,
Hold,
yeah.
pause. I just want you to note, how did that feel when I said that? Or if I said it in a nicer way, like, oh, that happened to me, and then here's my whole problem and my story about that. Pause and just think, how does that feel when I, of all, either tried to solve your problem, like just look up the menu online next time, or I just started into my rant about my airport nightmare situation.
No, I felt like you actually cared. Yeah.
No, it feel well. You can feel however you want, but if somebody said to me, "Oh, why didn't you just look up the menu?" I'd be like, "Well, okay, thanks, but I still kind of feel like crap." So
Okay, thank God. Okay, I don't. I was being
it's
honest. I was
okay.
being a bit nice. Yeah. I was. I thought that was like a part of the role play.
No, no,
I
no, no,
thought that
no.
was a bit of a prick move to say. Like I was a bit pissed, and you kind of added to the flames.
Yeah,
But
that's okay. That's totally okay. See, there you go. And it's funny that you faked it there for me. People often ask me like, Montana, you're telling me to fake it. I don't want to be fake on stage. And I'm like, we fake it all the time. You faked it just
yeah.
now
I
to
know.
make
I just didn't
me
want
feel
to be a prick. You know what I
no,
mean?
I
Like
know, but
yeah.
that's what a nice person does, and I think that a lot of people, well, there's this we call faking it like a bad word, but really, I think we're putting on a facade or being nice often in life. Anyway, that was a side note, but it's okay. You didn't even have to say how you felt, but most people tend to feel like if they immediately get a problem, so, like a solution presented, or they start to, have to hear your big rant, it just sort of feels like, hey, wait a minute. I just had a really tough thing happen, and now
Yeah.
I'm not feeling very good about how you were taking that,
Mm.
right? So say it again. You can say it shorter if you want. Say your
Okay.
restaurant
Yeah, I'll
story,
say
and I'm
shorter.
going to show you a different way to respond. And this is the active listening version. So go ahead.
Okay,
Say
let's
your
do it.
rant.
And this time I'll be honest.
Go ahead.
So I walked into the restaurant with 40 minutes to spare, and when I got the menu, I was there for 20 minutes, even though a waiter didn't come. And finally, when the waiter came, I didn't have enough time to actually order anything, so I had to walk out, just hungry, starving, with nothing to eat before my flight.
So you got there with 40 minutes to spare, and
Yeah,
the waiter came. It took the waiter 20 minutes to come. Did I get that right?
20 minutes.
And so you didn't get to eat. Is that what you're
I
saying?
didn't even get to order. Yeah.
You didn't even get to order. Oh man, that sucks. I'm so sorry. Now,
I appreciate that. Yeah.
how did
I
that
mean, I'll be honest. At the end, that sucks. Like that was, but overall, it was pretty good. Like I felt pretty hurt.
Yeah, I mean, so you can say, "Oh man, that sucks," or "That stinks," or "That's rough." You can, or you could just be like, "But did you hear how I asked? Did I said a brief summary of what you said? Oh, so you this happened and then this happened. Did I get that right?" And you said, "Yeah."
Mm.
Even just that, like, did that make you feel more heard when I was like asking you about some details and checking in to see if that's,
Very
what
motherly.
say
Yes.
that again?
Very motherly.
Motherly. Oh, that's interesting. Like it was sort of nurturing or like I cared about your feelings. Is that
Exactly.
putting
Exactly.
words in your mouth?
It felt like you were indulging in it as well. Like you felt the pain. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, like I was empathizing perhaps without
Exactly.
launching into my own story of it. I was just being with you in your feeling for a minute before. Now, the next thing I could do is right then I could go like, you know what, Rishi? I just flew in from an airport situation and here's what happened to me, blah, 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 right? So you can share your story. You can go to but first take a moment to acknowledge what the other person said. So I taught you an extra step. Really, if you're trying to walk in and have a good conversation with somebody, I think asking questions and then actually listening. That can just mean that you're quiet and not interrupting. That could mean that you are actively listening by summarizing, number one, what they just said, and number two, checking in to see, did I get that right? Or, oh man, how did that make you feel? Or you could go to empathizing. That sucks. If it feels right, that mine maybe felt forced, but like, and you don't have to say that if you're not actually feeling it, right? And then you could maybe share your own story, and that is how connection and relationship begins to form. Is not just
Yes.
for speaking, but also listening. So I think people often think, oh, Montana just has advice for speaking, but I think listening is just as important, and how you listen.
That's amazing because I actually had that on my list. That I was wondering, can you be a confident listener? And even Dale Carnegie says that to be interesting, you got to make the other person f- uh, interesting themselves, and they link that part to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's pretty simple. Ask a question, summarize what you heard, and check in to see if you got it right, and then repeat, repeat,
Mm,
repeat, repeat. And you might, who knows, you might get to something really interesting. And by the way, if somebody's ranting about a difficult experience, you can also ask them, right? So you can check in like, oh, so you didn't even get to order? And you're like, yeah. And then I can say something like, are you just hoping to vent right now, or are you looking for solutions?
yeah.
And then you give that person the option instead of just immediately trying to solve or give tips, because maybe they're not open for tips or advice in that moment. So that's in terms of like a rant, but just a hangout conversation. Try asking questions and listening and summarizing their answers and checking in with them. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Do you think introverts actually tend to do better at confident listening than extroverts?
Good question. I don't know. I I would say maybe yes. Not being an
Yeah.
expert in
No, of course.
introverts
Yeah,
versus
yeah, yeah.
extroverts. But I do think extroverts tend to sort of talk a little bit too much and take over the conversation. And I think sometimes it has to do with one's level of anxiety. I think whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, I think sometimes people can feel anxious about there being space in the conversation, like some dead space, and so they rush to fill it in with talking more. And I think for either any type of brain, I would say just try filling in that next bit of space with a question. And I actually recently spoke to. It's funny you're in London. I was just talking to a fellow in London. He
A fellow.
he was not from England, from another country, and he was a self-proclaimed introvert. And he said he was just having a really hard time uh, talking to folks, starting conversations. And I suggested, it's hard. It's just, first of all, I think I'm an extrovert, and it's hard for me to go and start a conversation with a stranger. It's just hard. It's scary and it's hard. So let's just say that, first of all. But if you want to practice it, as I told this fellow, you can make yourself a little experiment. And again, think of it like a science experiment. So you make a hypothesis. What if I go to the pub and I just try to speak to three new people? There's your hypothesis. You make a little plan, like how might you begin these conversations? And again, there's probably infinite possibilities. He and I came up with the idea of, what if he went up to someone and said, hi, can I ask you a question? So first you give them choice, so the person can just say like, no, and that's fine. I mean, it doesn't feel great, but it's also survivable. It's okay.
Yeah, 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 of
You
course.
know, right? But if they say yes, we for him we came up with the question, something like, I'm new to this country, and I'm wondering, what is a good conversation icebreaker in English? Like, what do you think
No
is a
way.
good first thing to say to open a conversation? And then
Okay.
if So first of all, you're getting to learn more ideas for icebreakers.
Exactly. That's what I'm laughing at. Yeah.
It is a good icebreaker, I think, especially, in his case, because he is trying to learn. And again, be the scientist, just gather information. And you'll just notice, oh, this worked better, this didn't work as well. And then you go home, you write that down, or process it however you process, and then you go back to the pub the next night and try it again and make some modifications and gather more information. That is something that I think any of us can do, regardless of your brain type.
Yeah. And I feel like just general repetition actually just enhances that on top of it. The reflection is important, but I think getting reps in is vital.
Agreed. You know how they say rehearsal in French?
How to say it?
I never studied French. And
Repertoire.
oui, like répétition.
Oh, okay, that's not even close.
Repetition.
I like how you're trying to make me feel bead about that, but
No, I think it's right. Yeah, I think yours was right too. It's just the difference between a verb and a noun or something. I never studied French, and what would be great is if people who actually speak French can come back in and be like, "That was totally
exactly,
wrong."
they're completely wrong. Yeah, what the hell's going on? Yeah.
So I do not claim to know French, but someone who does speak French told me that, and whether it's true or not, I still love it as an anecdote because.
Yeah.
I wish that was the word in English. I wish we just said repetition instead of rehearsal, because that's what it is. Like it's not anything more or less than that. So whatever it is that you are struggling with, or the thing that you want to get better at, find a way to do it again and again and again, and get in those reps, just like you'd get in reps at the gym. And that makes total sense to us. You also can strengthen other muscles, right? Even figuratively, by doing the repetitions.
How many reps did it take you to give that phenomenal TED Talk?
Oh, well, you are so kind. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. It's funny. I am happy with it, but I will say that I even still see things that I wish I had done differently in that. So, by the way, once a perfectionist, always a perfectionist. But now, thank you for the kind compliment. I'm working on that too. Thank you. How many reps did it take? I didn't tally it, and I now wish that I had. I wish I had documented the whole thing, but I practiced for that maybe more than I've ever practiced for any speech or presentation. And so this is not a recommendation for other folks. Like if you're listening to this thinking about, doing a presentation for your class or at a conference, you don't need to practice as much as I did for the TED Talk, right? I don't think. I mean, that's up to you, right? But this is not a recommendation. But starting a couple months out, I scheduled as many practice audiences as I could get. Like I put out a call to my whole network and said, "Hey, can I practice my talk in front of you?" And I did it in front of individuals.
That's so interesting. In
front of groups, in front of strangers, in front of friends, as many times as I possibly could in the times leading up. And in about the month before, I practiced it at least once a day, out loud, standing up all the way through. And there were many days I did not want to do that. I have 2 kids. I run a business. Like I was so tired. Sometimes I didn't want to do, and I just knew, probably from being an actor, I just knew the more repetitions you get, the more freedom I would have on that stage to be able to really, truly speak and listen to my audience and be with that audience, be present with that audience authentically. And I know people often say to me, practicing too much makes me feel robotic or stale. And honestly, I think that means you haven't practiced enough. Because so you got your words down, but now you need to attend to What's the meaning behind the words? What's the subtext?
Meaning, yes.
What's the intention? What is your silent sentence? Who envision who you're speaking to? All these questions. I mean, and these are the actors' questions, or you can look up Uta Hagen's 9, 10 questions. It's basic acting technique. Right? Who are you? Who
Yeah.
are you speaking to? What do you want? It's the same type of thing. That's if you wish to do like a keynote style, TED Talk style presentation. I think it takes a lot more effort, more reps, and you can practice it in any way you wish and video it, figure out what you need in the next round. A shorter way to do it that gets you, I think, a lot is to just practice the opening and closing that much, like literally 3 times a day from anywhere, every day, all the time. And then the middle bit, just have really good short bullet point notes somewhere in your eye line. If you're in virtual, right, I just tape it to my monitor. If you're in person, then, build your slide so that it cues you, or have your speaker notes visible to you. But just make them glanceable. Make them short bullets so they're glanceable, not these long sentences. And then you're having to sit there and like read the sentence while everyone waits, right? So the whole middle bit, you can practice it a good 3 times, let's say, before you actually do it. But let it be a hybrid of practiced, and prepared with the notes, and extemporaneous and spontaneous in the moment for that whole middle bit.
Yeah.
Whereas the first, 30 seconds to 2 minutes and your final sentence, I recommend having those nearly memorized. Like you've done the repetition so many times that you could say it in your sleep. That's because adrenaline lasts about 90 seconds or so before it dissipates in your body. So I always like to have the first couple minutes completely memorized and set. That might also just be because I'm an actor. Here's another thing. Try this way and see if it works for you, and modify it and change it. Be the scientist, gather that information, and then adjust it for the next go.
Yeah, I mean, even conversationally, I'm not saying that. God, I used another It is what it is. Even conversationally, I'm not saying that we should have a whole script out. But I thought you said something really interesting that could be helpful in practice of normal, natural conversational skills, which is having an audience. So even practicing with someone else seems so important, because I feel like recording on a video is great because you get that internal feedback to yourself. But then even when I feel like I'm giving a speech or just talking with someone, I'll be there for 15 minutes walking around. Okay, this is what I gotta say, this is what I gotta say. And I get out, bam, voice crack. Instantly, it's over. But having that natural conversation with someone as practice, I feel like is, I don't know if it's equally, but I feel like it's vital.
It is vital because it's wild, isn't it? What other human beating hearts in front of you like do to you, right? Like I know it's like whoa, and so I like to work up to it. I will practice on my own. I will, and it's long before I even record it. Like I'll practice on my own. I'll practice when I'm doing the dishes or whenever, right? Like sometimes I put it in my calendar and practice, like I did for the TED Talk. Like I put it in I scheduled it and I made myself do it that way. But I did that on my own a number of times. And then, I mean, and this might sound silly, but really, then you can do it to, do it to your cereal boxes. They're very non-judgmental. Perform your talk to
Captain
your
Crunch.
cereal boxes. Captain Crunch loves you already, right? No judgment. Then move to some beautiful piece of art on your wall. A little more judgment, maybe, from that, right? We're going up the ladder here, building up to it. Then if you have pets, suddenly a beating heart is there, right? Okay, little distracting. It's a next level of difficulty, unlocked. Then go to one human being. Go to a human being that loves you and cares about
Yep.
you. My poor husband, I'm like, can I run my intro? And he's like, sure. You know, Corey, he just knows like that. That's just part of
He
it.
probably knows as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, he's a musician and a performer. He gets it. He's like he genuinely does welcome it when I say. I made it sound like he was annoyed, but who knows? Who knows? He might be. I have to do it so often, but really, it's important. Again, even if like the other person is standing there doing dishes and you're standing over here making breakfast for the kids, just say it out loud in front of that person. Because, oh, that's a little scarier, right? A little more jittery, like a person is listening. And then build it up. Then you'd go to an audience of a few more people, schedule a Zoom with your friends and do it there. Then do a dry run in front of your colleagues, right? You see how we're building, building, building? People just think, yeah, like I'll just do it on my own, like in my own bubble. Actually, what they usually do, folks that I coach, they will usually have never said it out loud. They're just running it in their minds, like while they're like clicking through the slides. And then, yeah, the moment they say it out loud is the first time they've said it out loud, but it's in front of the audience. And they're like, okay.
Oh, it's hard. Yeah.
Now, what you talked about your voice cracking, like, first of all, that'd be something that probably is a big thing for you, like you notice it, like it's 100%
Yeah.
oh crap moment for you. And I get that. For the audience, let me tell you, first of all, most of them won't notice it. The rest of them are like, noticed it, don't care. I'm here to listen to the message. Right? And that's when you're watching yourself on video or you're monitoring yourself while you're speaking. So much of that is, you got to just let that go, because that's only stuff that you care about when you're watching yourself on video or you're monitoring yourself. Other people don't care how much you touch your face. Again, there could be like a version that's way too distracting, right? But for the most part, we touch our face. We make gestures. We walk around. It's okay. So you have to sort of start to make the categories in your mind of like, what is the stuff that probably only matters to me? Like how my voice sounds or how my hair looks. Probably that I'm the only one thinking about that category, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the audience, they're busy thinking about how their hair looks or themselves, basically, right? And that's just the truth of the human experience, right? And so I find that what is so helpful, not only the practice, like I mentioned, and ratcheting up level of difficulty, but the silent sentence. Build yourself a little set of instructions that you speak to yourself in your own mind at that time when you need it to set yourself up for success. In the time where it's like, oh, all the eyes are looking at me, or my voice cracked, or oh, I said the wrong thing, or oh, they're all looking at me, or all those, when that moment comes, right? That's when you have to have that little reset reminder sentence ready for you. I mean, frankly, I start saying my silent sentence weeks before, days before, definitely in the 10-15 minutes before I'm talking to myself. Woo, it turns into a full conversation at that point.
Yeah.
But if I have the core of it figured out and I practice it just as much as I practice the words I say out loud, then when the voice crack moment or whatever that is,
You go over it.
you say that little silent sentence, repeat that, and you're back. Because here's what it is. The voice crack moment is the arrows of self-consciousness are all pointing inwards. You're thinking about yourself. Oh no, that thing happened and I did it in front of everyone and they all know. And oh my God, I didn't want to do that. Or some version of that, right? Arrows pointing in, right? Self-consciousness. What the best kind of silent sentence will do for you is it will take the arrows and point them back out towards your audience. So, oh no, me, oh no, fear about me turns into, I want to help them.
Yeah.
Like
I love that.
my example, right? Because I know that's who I am at my core, is that I want to help folks with what I know about. And so when I remind myself like, oh, but I'm here to help them, then it's not like I suddenly feel okay. I'm still I'm still feeling the effects of adrenaline and nervousness. I'm still scared, frankly. But
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like, you know, those people you hear those stories. I've never seen this, but I've heard stories of where people can lift a car off of a human being because if they're trapped, right, and they somehow get the strength.
During moments of adrenaline, yeah, it's like the
Yeah.
motherly thing. Yeah, I've heard about this.
They're not thinking, "Oh, how do I look lifting the car?"
Yeah,
Oh no, they're like,
yeah.
"I've got to help that person."
It's brute force. Yeah.
Like I feel that I would walk through hot coals to help you, Rishi.
Oh, so kind.
Truly. No, I mean that's just like my deeper purpose on this planet. And so when I remind myself of that in those moments of high stakes, you know, super duper adrenaline and fear, I go, "Oh, but I got to help that person. There is a Rishi out there in my audience and I got to help him." Then I'm like, "Oh, I can do that." Right?
Mm.
And I somehow, right, suddenly have the power and the strength to lift that car or whatever, you know, to get there and go there and do that. So you have to find, Rishi, for you, what is that driving force? So, like, when do you, you know, I know you do this podcast. Are there other times when you get up and you speak in front of an audience?
Not often. I would love to be honest. I really want to. I have a summer now where I want to learn improv and stuff like that, but it's. I don't get the chance that much, which is why I love podcasting as well.
Well, take an improv class. That is such a great way to practice being in the
I've
moment,
heard.
saying yes, and building with your fellow performers, and also it reminds you that the audience is your partner always. They are there to be your partner, right? So take an improv class. Oh my gosh, so fun and such a great way to skill build for being a speaker. But what about even just, you said that moment you talked about, you go on stage, you've practiced, and then the voice crack. Like, what are you telling yourself in that moment?
So when I brought that up, that was also in a very conversational setting. It's almost like I know it sounds weird, but let's say I want to talk to a girl or just make a new friend. I'll have
Mm-hmm.
that like 2 minute period where I'm like, all right, this is how I'm gonna do. And I'll be honest, I like to take the piss out of myself a lot of the times, so that's what helped me get over it. When I say something stupid or something stupid happens with me, I love to laugh at it.
Yeah, like
So that's
make fun of
why,
yourself or
exactly, almost just
self-deprecating humor.
emphasize it even more,
Yeah,
because I feel like trying to hide it actually
sure.
shows it more.
And if that's your style, do, you know, that's you authentically, then do that. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. I think sometimes people ask me, you know, should I tell a joke? Should I? And I'm like, do you want to tell a joke? Because it looks like you don't
Yeah,
by the way you're asking the question. And the truth is, tell a joke or not, if it's authentic to you. If that's your style, do it. If that feels right to you, do it. And practice it. Right? Okay. So when you're in that moment, you've practiced, okay, here's what I'm going to say, da 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 da. You go up and your voice cracks. What is being broadcast there in the moment
oh,
when the thing goes wrong or differently or you're feeling self-conscious? What's being broadcast? Are you willing to share?
yeah. Oh, I'm like I've shot my pants a bit. Like I'm like, all right, well, because I've always been told that the opening is important, and I'm like, I've just screwed up my opening. It's over. The first impression, and I think that's what gets me. I'm like, this is the first impression I've given off. It's over.
It's over. Yeah, I totally feel you. Oh, I feel you. I have had the same thing happen to me. So, what is it that you want to do? Like, let's say you're in that situation, you're talking to the new person. What is it that you're hoping for in that?
Well, it's just a. You're asking the why I'm speaking to that person. It's
What are you?
just a.
What's the ideal outcome there?
Well, if it's making you friend, making you partner, I just incorporate them into my life or incorporate myself into their life in a good positive way. Like
That's so great. That's so great, and I love that is the overall goal. And sometimes it's really great to know that end goal. And then it's great to like break it down a little bit. So if we were to take that, okay, you want to make a new friend. Let's just say make a new friend. Maybe it's a potential partner, but it's usually great to start with friend in
Of
either
course, makes
case,
sense.
right? So
Yeah, yeah,
let's go with make a new friend. And then let's break that down a little bit to like, what is the smallest first step in making a new friend?
yeah. Get to know them.
Get to know them. There you go. So what I'm doing for you here, just so everybody sees it, right, is like sometimes the goal can feel, it's great to know what your big goal is, but it can sometimes feel big and overwhelming. Like,
Yeah.
like make a new friend, lifelong friend, find the partner, my future, spouse. Oh, geez, you're building in a little pressure there,
That's really good.
trying to make all that happen in this first conversation, right? It's good to have that as a northern star to shoot for. That's fine. That's great, in fact, to know what you want. But now let's break that down a little bit. For me, like when I used to think, okay, there's an audience of 300, I want to help them. Inherently, I was thinking, I didn't realize it at first, that I was sort of subconsciously telling myself that I had to help all 300 people, which is overwhelming and possibly, not quite possible, right? Like,
Yeah.
maybe not doable. So when I was like, oh, what if I break it down to what is the smallest doable first step or the smallest version of that? And I broke it down to what if I just help one person in that group of 300? What if I just imagine it's like there's a Rishi out there in my audience, a person who likes what I have to say, is picking up what I'm laying down, and they need to hear my advice today. I'm just going to help that one person in the audience. And that is a way that I took my silent sentence and my deeper purpose on this planet, my why, which is great to have the big why, but broke it down into a doable goal. So get to know them is what we got for you. So can we, and we can play this game. Can we break that down even further? In the first
Okay, going.
conversation, what could you do?
Ask questions.
Yeah, I did. I gave you the answer earlier, didn't I? That's how you get to know someone. Yeah. So it goes back to my earlier advice. Like, start brainstorming. What are a few first questions that you could ask? Like, what do you imagine you might want to ask to get to know somebody?
What do you do in your free time?
What do you do in your
If
free
it's
time?
at NYU, what are you studying?
Oh, that's great. Yes. Because, yeah, if you're walking up to a group of people who, do you go to NYU? Oh, what are you studying, right? Like, that's what's great about college times. You have that in common, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's an instant icebreaker right there. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, find a little common ground and ask a question about it. And then you can do some active listening. Everybody loves to feel seen and heard, right? So you can be like, oh, so you're studying this. Like, oh, what got you interested in that subject, or whatever the next follow-up question seems to be. You're good at asking questions, Rishi. You
yeah.
actually
Oh,
already have this
thanks.
skill. I've seen
Thanks,
it on
Matano.
display for the whole time we've been talking. So,
Oh, you're too kind.
well, yeah, it's the truth. And so maybe a good silent sentence for you could be like, I like asking questions and I like getting to know people. So my goal is to know this person a little better.
Yeah, that's
Like,
great.
does that sound doable?
No, it's amazing, and it does because it's funny. I started with the question, "Are most confident people faking it?" And it's almost full circle. If you nail down your why, it feels like the how already comes along with it.
Yeah, it usually does. It usually does. Agreed. And also you can be a little less precious with the how. Come up with 3 different ways that you can introduce yourself. 3 different icebreakers, 3 different follow-up questions, and you can practice these. You know, you can practice them with me.
Mm-hmm.
You can practice them with a friend. You can practice them on video. You can practice them with your cat. You can practice with the wall. Practice with your cereal
Yeah.
box. You know, so um, these these are not um, what like skills or I guess I'll go back to sort of first full circle what I said in the beginning. These aren't just these deep secrets that only the experienced or the talented know, right? These are things that if you take the time to ask your deeper self, well, what do I want out of this? Why did I say yes to this? Why am I uh, going to the pub? Why did I say yes to this speaking gig? Why do I want to get to know more people? Right? You can find those answers within yourself, and then the next step would be to really notice, what are you telling yourself? Like when you get to that moment and it's not going how you'd like it to go, like your voice
Yeah.
cracks and you like feel like, oh, it's over. That those voices will come. They still come for me, Rishi. And it what's different is that I now just have an answer. I have a different sentence. So, an example, if you don't mind me sharing, um,
Love, please.
is actually about the TED Talk. So, I was, so honored to be asked and also scared to do the TED Talk. But at the same time, really wanted to share the message. And so it was an interesting battle. I have an example of how I dealt with this, if you would like to hear an example.
Please.
So when I was preparing for the TED Talk, I was everything. I felt everything. I was so honored to be asked. I was so scared. What if I fail? What if it all goes wrong? But I also so desperately wanted to share the messages in the talk. And more than anything, I just really wanted to help folks. Like I'd noticed that when I'd shared similar messages over the years that it was helpful. And I just thought this could be a way that I could help someone. Especially it could be a way I could help someone who wouldn't ordinarily have access to my training as a speaker coach, right?
Yeah.
And so I said yes, but then I proceeded to get more and more and more scared as time went on. And it's a daunting prospect. It is, in my case, the TEDx Bellevue Women. It was a great group of organizers. I actually had been the speaker coach, the one who was coaching the speakers for the years prior. So I knew the group. I knew even the space and the theater. But it's a daunting prospect because this is my livelihood. This is my business. And this is this message that I wanted to share. It's sort of like my baby. Like I really cared so much, right? How it got sent out into the world. And for TEDx Bellevue Women, it's in a lovely theater in Kirkland. And I think it's about a 300 seater. And so there's 300 live audience members. And then for the taping, there's 6 cameras rolling on you. And you get one shot, right? You go up, you give your talk, and that's what is put on the internet for all time. Right? Like I was thinking, my daughters, children's children, that if they still have the internet, I mean, I don't know, try to watch a DVD now, but I'm assuming it will live on and on and on, right? And so it was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
pressure. And I was uh just getting really, really scared. So I thought, okay, well, I'm doing this because I'd like to help people. Okay. And I really did think about, well, what if it's a person who cannot otherwise have access to my services, even like whether they can't afford it, or like maybe it's a high school student, or a college age student, who's just starting out, and I would love for them to get this information. That's why I said yes. Okay, so I started there. Okay, and I tried to cling to that every time I was doing my rehearsal, or I got like the fear got big, right? Uh, and I was like, yeah, okay, that helps me kind of calm my anxiety. And I realized it helped the more specific I got about the person who I was helping, the more it calmed my anxiety. So just like I was walking you through, like breaking it down, instead of it being
Breaking it
like,
down
I'm looking for a life partner, it's like, I'm looking to
as
get to know
micro. Yes.
more about this person this evening. Like just like a smaller doable amount, right? I had to
Yeah,
do
yeah,
the
yeah.
same for myself. So instead of I'm going to help everybody, uh, it's I started thinking about this one person, and she was a figment of my imagination. For some reason, she was a young woman, and in my mind, she was either high school or college age, and she had some big like college entrance exam, or like a big job interview, like first big job interview or something coming up, and she wanted to know how to look and sound confident in that moment. And every time I did those practice runs in front of my practice audiences, or if I just, practice all by myself, I thought about her and I did my little silent sentence. I was like, I invite you to be here with me while I'm here with you so that I can help you to the best of my ability. You. And the you in that, in my mind, was this young woman. And uh, she was the reason that I kept going. She was definitely the force that pulled me onto that red dot on the day. Because let me tell you, waiting in those wings, it was among the top most terrifying moments of my life. No hyperbole, really. I put that among the top, standing back there and having to walk onto that stage. But I was just like thinking of her. And you made me think of this story, Rishi, because I got out onto that red dot. And a little backstory is on the day on the event, it was five of us in the program, and they put me last. So it was about 2.5 hours before I hit the stage. And I was on the roller coaster, right? Sometimes I was saying my silent sentence, I was talking myself into a good place, and then I'd go watch and I'd be like, oh yeah, this is a great audience. The people on stage, they were telling great stories, they were doing great. The audience, and then I'd be like, oh, here comes the fear. It's like the roller coaster. I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
and we're click click click, we're going up to another one, and I'd
Yeah,
have to
yeah,
go
yeah,
back,
yeah.
go all the way back through my process, silent sentence, the silent full dialogue. And so I get out there, I get on stage, I say my first couple lines. And by the way, while I'm speaking, so you can go back and watch the first couple minutes, and you'll
I'll
now
do it. Yeah.
know what the subtext, like the other conversation that was running in my brain. I was like, oh no, the audience is tired. Like I could feel that they were tired because they had just listened to so many other big ideas and lovely stories. But they knew that after mine, there was going to be wine and cheese in the lobby, right? Like they're like, okay, 2.5 hours, I'm done, right? And I could just kind of feel that they were sort of tired. I've been in front of a lot of audiences, and I don't know if I was right or wrong, but that was just the vibe I got, right? And I was like, oh no. And then I instantly also thought, I'm tired too, because I couldn't really eat lunch because I was nervous, and it's been 2.5 hours, and oh no. And then my next thought was, and she's not here. I looked out in the audience and I thought, she's not here. And it was just like what you said, where you were like, it's over. I thought, game over. Like this is um, all not ideal. This is not going well, and this is all going to end terribly. Oh no, what have I done? Like that just a feeling of just total instant doom. And then the next moment, my little silent sentence, because I had done so many repetitions, it played in my head, and I said, Montana, she might not be here in the theater, but she is maybe in your future video audience. The cameras are rolling, so you got to bring 100% for her. Help her. Help her. She needs you. And I was like I just like gathered, the strength and like went after it. And, you see what happened in the rest of the talk, right? It turned out not perfect, but good enough.
Very well. Very well.
Thank you. In my book, I would call it good enough, and I attribute that entirely to her. Like and that I was able to get the arrows pointing off me, the self-consciousness, and point it back out towards her and helping her. I made it not about me, but about her. And she got me through it. No doubt. And she was a person I've never met. She doesn't, to my knowledge, at that point, she didn't even exist. And she got me through it. Cut to 2-3 weeks later, I got an email from her. She was in the live taping audience. She was there in the audience. And she said, lovely compliments, and all of that. But even better, she said, I had a big job interview coming up a few days later. I used your techniques and I got the job.
Oh, that's crazy. That is crazy.
Exploded my brain, right? Like, she was real. She is real.
Yeah.
In fact, she walks the earth. And she was there in the audience on the day. Can you believe it? I still kind of can't believe it. So I share that to tell you, first of all, you just don't know. You don't know who is there and how you're affecting them and who you're helping. You can guess that even that, like that you're helping one person, you can probably make a safe bet on that. Your podcast, you've probably had similar feedback where you are blown away by how it has affected someone in a way that you never imagined. Has that happened to you?
Yeah, it's even one of my family members, which is so funny because you would think that I'm so statistically focused on the numbers that the show gets,
Right.
which I am. Like I'll be honest, it is one of the metrics that I do tend to focus on. But when I started it, similar to you, I told myself I want to just be able to be a voice for someone like me, and after you get so focused on the metrics and the numbers, focusing on the big stage like you were, you need that one person or that one thought to come in and just go, yeah, you might only have 200 views or 200 people in front of you, but imagine how many people are watching it in general, or imagine the impact. It's more about the impact, not the views itself. Imagine that one person who gets to go, that helped me out today. And
There it is.
that's what I'm like, that's what keeps me going. Because sometimes my clips get these views, but I'm like, hold on. Yeah, 10 views isn't a lot, but imagine 10 people in a room going, you've helped them out. That's all that matters to me.
100% agree. 100%. And that was my bar for success of the TED Talk. I said, if I help one person, I hope it's that one young woman, but I honestly at the time, I believe in manifesting, but there's a part of me that's also a little skeptical, but I was like, well, I'll try it just in case, whatever works kind of idea. Right. And I was hoping it would be her, but I was like, whomever it is, if I've helped one person, that is my bar for success in doing this TED Talk. If I have helped one person, that was my bar for success. And I noticed that helped me a lot to just get through it, get through a scary, rather daunting task. So I guess the way, anybody can use that, right? Whatever you have coming up, could be for you, your next podcast interview could be a job interview, talking to a girl, talking to a stranger, a potential new friend. What is the smallest next step you can take? Break it down, right? You can set your north star, like what would you ideally like, but then what could be a tiny win working towards that goal? Maybe for you it's like just going to that party or that pub or that moment and actually walking up to a person and saying, "Hey, do you go to NYU? Oh, what do you study?" And just getting that one answer, knowing that about a new human being could be your bar for success. How does that sound?
Yeah, I mean, and the more macro you get, it almost feels like the more present you are in the moment, because you're not actually then focused on this massive goal of having this lifelong friend. If you're literally focusing on this one question at a time, you get to focus on the answer in the present rather than the goal in the future.
Exactly. And you get to decide where you want to go and what you want to do. And if you don't think about what is that ideal outcome, you'll kind of be floating, because it's just like a boat in the ocean. If you don't set a destination, you'll just kind of float with the currents. But if you're like, I'm going to Honolulu, maybe a long journey from Seattle to Honolulu, or even longer from London. But if you know that's your final goal, you can just take small steps every day to get to it. Thinking about, oh no, it's so far away, that's like, instant death. But if you're just like, okay, what do I need to do? The smallest thing I need to do to get closer to that.
Yes. That's
And
amazing.
also, what is the mindset that could help set me up for that? Right? And you get to build that silent sentence for yourself. And guess what? I have tons. It's not just one. Like mine today, and I tape it up. I see it right here at my monitor. So I usually start with, I invite you to be here with me while I am here with you, so that we can grow together. That's the one I've got taped up these days. So it can change. It can evolve. You can have different ones for different days or different scenarios. The only time you're leaving something on the table is when you don't try at all.
Oh, this is my favorite part of the show, because I always this is my favorite. This is why I loved in the show, because it gives me an excuse to just talk to awesome people like yourself who just sprinkle advice that I would not have got otherwise. So Montana, you've been absolutely amazing, and I usually ask this for all my guests. I would be very interested to see what you give, because you've spoken a lot about advice in general. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Well, it's from my dad, and I'll just lay it on you here, and I guess you can edit it out if it doesn't work for your podcast.
It doesn't matter.
He'd say, "Fuck them if they can't take a joke."
Yeah, love it.
And what I took from that is like, you know what? You got to do what's best for you. And that doesn't mean to not be kind, but it does mean you got to believe in yourself. And you know what? It's that could be applied to so many things. If you want to start with a joke and they don't laugh, oh well. Keep rolling on. You do you. You thought it was funny? Put that joke in there. Go for it.
Yeah.
Thanks,
and
Dad.
it's the why. Why are you doing it? No, I get it, but it's about why you're doing it. It's not to make a shit ton of people like you. It's about the end goal. If you want to make a joke, make a joke.
Yeah!
It's not that deep.
That's right.
It's not that deep. The world's not gonna
right.
end. And I don't want to pile on, but you said it earlier. people don't care about you as much as you think. And also, it goes both ways. In a nice way and a bad way, but people really don't care as much as you think. So...
It's so true. If you check in with yourself and you're like, oh my God, my hair, my voice,
Yeah.
Just know, right. The next thought should be, oh my gosh, I wonder what their dialogue about themselves, their little subtext is, right?
Yes.
And then just have a laugh and keep rolling forward, right?
I love it, Montana. I love it.
Great. Oh man, Rishi, it's been so lovely to talk to you. You are just, you are very talented, and possibly it's also a combination of you've built a skill of how to converse well, how to ask questions. But your natural curiosity is just lovely and infectious, and I thank you for it. And thank you so much for having me.
Oh, Montana, you're the absolute best. I mean, that means more than you'll ever know, honestly, because this is number 17 or 18, I believe. So
woo, 18!
We've got a long way to go, but
okay, we can give it so much. Let's give it our best golf clap. We did a good job.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Montana, where can we find you, and what's next?
What's next? Let's see. Picking my kids up from school.
Love it.
The place you can find me is definitely on my website, montanavonfliss.com. You can also please connect with me on LinkedIn.
That's what I did.
Is my name there, and I believe I'm the only one. So find me on LinkedIn and, share the TED Talk with your friends. And, I don't know, where else can they find me? Oh, you can sign up for my newsletter on my website. If you scroll down to the bottom, I have a little newsletter with little tidbits. It's quarterly, so I won't be flooding anybody's email inbox. And yeah, pop in and say hi anytime. Thank you so much.
Love it. Montana, thank you so much for coming on.
Take care.